Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my review of Battlefield 2042. Let's get right into it. Gameplay. Gunplay makes or breaks a shooter. In Battlefield 2042, the mechanical aspect of shooting is solid. It's tight and crunchy, feedback is punchy, and the sound when you murk someone is awesome. I love how you can reload without breaking ADS as well. Time to kill would have been perfect, but with the addition of armor, it's veering on a smidge too high. Thankfully, it's only 20 HP, so it's not that bad and you can still mow down multiple tangos with a single clip. Grenades are also not overpowered like they were in Battlefield 1, which is a blessing. You have to pull and pan the grenade yourself as well, which limits spam and encourages you to keep your gun out most of the time. This is truly a godsend. However, with 128 players running around, you're going to get blown up all the time given the Universal Gadget system. The weapon spread somewhat spoils the fun of the pure shooting though with its extreme amounts of bloom. Bloom is RNG. When you fire bullets, they tend to bounce around randomly around your reticule rather than hitting where your crosshair is. This is to ensure new player Peter can spray you across the map and get a lucky kill from time to time without having to aim. It lowers the skill ceiling while also lowering the skill floor, not a good combination. Weapon Bloom also artificially inflates TTK, which reduces the skill gap between players even more. This makes new players happy while punishing skilled players. I don't like this whatsoever. Spread was already fixed with Battlefield 5, yet for some reason it's been reverted to BF1's random bullet deviation style. BF games have always had some sort of spread, but here it's very, very extreme. While this is easily fixable, the bloom is pervasive and unwelcome. Nonetheless, the shooting feels amazing as always. Movement. With the removal of bunny hopping span from the beta, the movement feels better, and you won't see people sliding around like they don't have any bones in their bodies. They added in a deceleration element which slows you down in successive jumps, and slide distance has been reduced. The bells and whistles of BF5 systems are gone. Crouch running, back crawling, and leaning most of all is a grave omission. I can't imagine why you would introduce a specialist that has a deployable shield without a lean or blind fire mechanic. It just makes no sense. I also don't understand why you'd have a shield operator and not at least give him a pistol like Blitz from Rainbow. It makes those two gadgets very binary with no space in the middle for stylistic gameplay. I do appreciate though some subtle other gameplay mechanics like the ability to throw a grenade while you're running and the ability to heal and dive at the same time. Those functions are not exclusive. This helps with aggressive gameplay, which is my forte. Double sprinting I was hesitant to have in a BF game, but with how large the maps are, it's a good add-in for the game. However, get ready to walk a lot, the maps are enormous. Maps. BF lives and dies with maps. Mostly, I'm disappointed. Maps are way too wide open, and they feel quite boxy. Flanking routes are hard to find, and so are mixed engagements as a result. They just feel so exposed. The best BF maps are designed to encourage raw gunplay while still supporting mixed vehicle combat. That is the essence of Battlefield. 2042 feels flipped, huge expanses of empty space with only a sprinkling of pre-designated infantry areas. They dominate the map pool. You sort of just run around hoping you don't get shot by a sniper or run over by a hovercraft. Breakthrough sheds a light on this problem, evident by the huge marathon marches you have to make after taking a sector. If you have to call in a vehicle transport to get to the next sector in a timely manner, your map does not flow well. Maps need to support both types of gameplay, which requires you to squish, remove, or fill in those empty spaces so infantry can actually have a decent chance at engaging the enemy. Essentially what you've done is reduce the effective range of half of your weapon pool. Many of the maps from Battlefield 3 and 4 make the 2042 maps look pretty pathetic, especially Kaleidoscope, which needs to be erased off the face of existence. If it wasn't for the two giant towers, which at least give some decent CQB, the map would be one of the worst in Battlefield history. In fact, 2042 has a clear lack of close quarters combat. At least it seems like that with so many players running around. I would take the Siege of Shanghai over every map in 2042 combined. Breakaway, Discarded, and Manifest are the best maps. They're big, but not just for the sake of it. They have interesting structures, terrain, cover, and objectives that actually make sense. A good match on Manifest is actually one of the most fun experiences I've had in this franchise. Sadly, many of them have the dreaded final bottleneck control point that needs to be suicided through. Suicide routes is actually how I'd explain most of the pathways in Breakthrough maps. I think they could have done a much better job designing these progressions. Super disappointed with the map pool overall. Breakthrough. It's fun, but I mean that in an extremely chaotic, spammy, messy kind of fun way. It's basically Rush, but now you need to hold multiple control points at the same time. Rush was always my go-to mode, but the 128 players makes it a very, very different experience here. I love the mayhem at times, but it can be very frustrating. Pretty much every control point is Operation Metro on steroids, especially those final ones I just mentioned. Hovercrafts are out of control and people are fucking everywhere. There's so many people converging on 2 points of the map that as soon as you peek your head around any corner of the map, you get shot from 10 different people from 10 different angles. And the great part is, Bloom ensures some of these rounds will land. The open-natured maps and choke point style pathways accentuate the issue. You get a lot of this standstill style gameplay, where people are huddling around the tiniest pieces of cover as they get shelled from endless tank and helicopter spray. 128 players don't get spread out on the map that's twice as big. They get funneled into the same points of interest as a 64-player rush map in the past, making the overall experience an absolute mud pie. It's hard to find a proper gunfight. This is my main issue with the 128 player setup. It has just too many ramifications for gameplay, with the chief benefit being just marketing. It's a mess, a fun one at that, but it's pure madness half the time. Despite the sloppiness, it can be fixed in the future with better maps. I still give Breakthrough a thumbs up, regardless for the fun factor though. Hazard Zone. This is my preferred go-to game mode. I've seen it being compared to Escape from Tarkov. Anyone saying that clearly has not played Tarkov or Battlefield 2042. Hazard Zone is its own thing, and I'm glad DICE didn't pull another Firestorm because that was shit. There's no loot or real money economy. You find data, kill players and NPCs, then you extract. The reason it's fun is because you get an actual, manageable gunfight, unlike the tumultuous haywire of the 128 player modes. It's also a slower, tactical game mode, and having that variety in the Battlefield game is very nice. You also get better utilization of specialist skills in this mode because of the smaller player count. I've seen people in articles say it's unfair to new players given the credit economy. That's complete horseshit. A competitive kit is 350 credits, 250 for the gun and 100 for a gadget. That's all you really need. You'll make that money back by killing just a few NPCs in the match. And it's easy to make 800 to 1,000 credits even when you lose. Double that if you win. I had 15,000 credits after playing for 2.5 days. That's 42 kits. Hazard Zone though needs to be expanded upon. I don't know what needs to be added exactly, but it feels like there should be more you could do with the credits you earn. Maybe they could add in some drop-in crates that you can fight for in the late game which have cosmetics inside. Overall, it's a very fun mode, albeit it's not very fleshed out yet. Sucks without a party, but it's a great mode if you have a couple buddies on. Back to some more issues. Reviving enemies needs work. Currently, you can only res squad mates unless you play as Falk, in which you can res anyone. This is how it should be. However, why can't I charge my defibs? This would encourage more players to revive teammates because it's safer. Imagine charging the defibrillator, sliding into a downed enemy, reviving him, and then diving into cover in the same string of actions. This would also solve the interact button problem, which is so badly integrated that it's painful. Why in the hell do I have to hold the interact button for anything in this game? It slows down the gameplay, not to mention it's a damn guessing game if you held the button at the right time anyway. And the same goes for the med pen. Just let me press the damn thing, because holding it down doesn't work half the time, especially if I'm trying to cancel it from another action like, I don't know, a reload. If it must be held, at least give a clear indication that the action is going through. Not sometimes, not most of the time, all of the time. We also need a button to tell down enemies that we're coming to revive them. That's a basic feature that's been removed from an older Battlefield game for reasons. Guns. It's depressing how few guns there are. 2 light machine guns, 3 pistols, welcome to the live service of gaming. Seriously, 4 assault rifles? My guess is that we're too busy designing the specialists. This time, 6 months from now, the weapon pool had better look a lot bigger, and that goes for the maps and the specialists too. Customization is good with a variety of attachments to use. However, some of the attachments have the same stats. I'm talking the exact same stats. Really? We're gonna be that lazy about it? It's pretty dumb and it clogs up the menu. I was hesitant about the plus menu for swapping out stuff, but it's awesome and I found myself using it all the time. I'm glad you're limited to the preset options you set up in the menu before going into battle, but I'd prefer if you were limited to 2 options per weapon part. Because currently you can get pretty much everything you'd ever want in every gun you have. CQB scope, hammer scope, long scope, compensator, suppressor, 3 different types of grips, and a flashlight, and every type of ammo you'd ever need. It's way too flexible. Specialists, a love-hate relationship. I hate the removal of classes, I hate the universal loadouts, but the specialists, they're growing on me, at least from a position of variety. I like logging in and seeing Paik waiting for me on the game screen. It's kinda cool. There's something personal about it, I guess. And I'm more attached to these characters than I'd be to some random soldiers. I guess that's a small benefit, of course, with a big downside. Obviously, specialists are EA's way of selling skins. So get ready for the monetization hammer to be dropped down hard. From a gameplay perspective, it's really stupid that there's no distinction of friend from foe. They're all dressed the same in combat and have the same cosmetic options. It doesn't feel like Battlefield or a war with 2 sides. It's just a bunch of random characters fighting each other. That I don't like. It just ruins the thematics of a Battlefield game in this capacity. But if they add in another 5 or 10 in the coming year, I think the system might ultimately pay off since they bring new types of gameplay, like using Paik's sensor ability with the smoke grenade. It's really cool and promotes stylistic gameplay. What I do wish they would do though is limit specialists to a certain pool of weapons and gadgets to create some clarity on the battlefield, and also to meet those who prefer the class system of the past like moi. halfway. Either way, I wish they'd at least get rid of the teenage victory voice lines. That is so cringy. I thought this was supposed to be a dark and gritty Battlefield game. Connectivity, it's trash. Tons of bugs, frame rate issues, hitching, and hit registration issues. The beta was a fairly good indication of the current state of the game, which is to say that it's pretty goddamn bad. If you're gonna buy the game, be prepared for a long road of fixes, just like Battlefield 4. Connecting to a game is like flipping a coin. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. At random, games on Hazard Zone just won't start, and I would often stare at the player card screen for up to 10 minutes wondering what the hell is going on. If all hands aren't on deck right now at DICE, I'd be very surprised. They need to fix the connectivity issues because they're horrific. Performance is also complete garbage. I love how the game looks, but it runs like my ex-girlfriend on a treadmill, which is to say not very good. Optimization is like looking outside and seeing trash on the side of the road on PC. With a top-of-the-line PC, the game runs like shit still. User interface. Oh man, here we go. Horrendous, cumbersome. Thank God it's fast though. You can flick through the menus instantaneously without any delay or loading. This is very nice. However, there's too many menus, there's way too many loading screens, and the attachment and loadout screens are very clunky and they need drastic help. They're not intuitive in the slightest. The menu colors for toggling things on and off is asinine. I mean, just look at this screen. Can you even tell if this box is checked or not? Why in the holy hell would you use the same color for the tick box and the background? Battlefield 2042 is a highly flawed and sloppy game, but it is still enjoyable. It's backtracked on a lot of the things I loved about Battlefield, but honestly, I've had a lot of fun with it. It was released way too soon, as evident by the various technical and network issues. It needs to fix those things right now, and then start adding in some solid regular content sooner than later because it's pretty lacking in that department too. I could go on about the things I'd change, like adding in a scoreboard and a server browser, fixing the moon physics of the vehicles, toning down the amount of available anti-air, and making 64-player mini-maps and modes with an emphasis on more CQB. There's more bugs than I could believe possible in a single video game, and I'm dreading what awaits in the in-game store when it comes. Gun balance is also very awful, with the PP-29 being God mode after the assault rifles got nerfed into the ground. Thankfully, the AC-42 is devastating at mid-range and a great final gun to unlock in the assault tree. It's just a shame that there's so few of these guns to unlock. However, all of this can be fixed, and I am confident in DICE despite my issues with the franchise. I'm sorry, I don't have a recommendation for Battlefield 2042. I really don't know how well the game's going to do, how well it's going to be received, because it has so many things to iron out. I think it's going to be a very polarizing game that will live and die by how its development continues. The truth is, much of what I went over in this video is probably going to be outdated in the coming months. It might possibly turn out like Battlefield 4, where it was crummy at first, but then became one of the best Battlefield games out there. BF4 has better bones, but 2042 can still be very fun with the right tweaks and attention, and I truly believe that. This, in my opinion, will be the best case scenario and something I'm truly hopeful for. Portal will not be able to save this game in the long run if it doesn't get the support it needs. 2042 is rough, but I do feel like it is a diamond in the rough, even though it might be buried pretty far down. I'm going to continue to play the game on my own time, not for YouTube, but for myself because I actually do enjoy the game for what it is. However, there's no denying that it has a very long road ahead of it nonetheless.